You don't love the spotlight.
I don't love the spotlight. I'm here because people told me it'd be good for CZI.
No way is that possible.
Mark Zuckerberg and Priscilla Chan built a kingdom that included a huge tech company and a powerful charity. But there are cracks in the picture-perfect photos that show kindness. What is really going on behind closed doors? Are they going to break up? Or is this just another part of their complicated story? Stay tuned as we figure out the truth. Trust us, what we've found might shock you. Keep an eye on this. It's not over yet. The Zuckerberg-Chan love story. There is truth to Mark Zuckerberg and Priscilla Chan's story, but it almost sounds like a fairy tale. It all started in 2003. They met for the first time at Harvard University. At the same time that Priscilla was still in school working on her PhD, Mark was already a student there working on Facebook. Their story started out simply, like a conversation between two normal people who happened to be in the same place at the same time. It wasn't complicated or big. While Mark was in class with Priscilla, he couldn't take his mind off of Facebook. She was smart, polite, and not at all interested in Mark becoming famous. They started talking to each other and became fast friends. Mark became more well-known on Facebook as it grew, but Priscilla treated him the same as everyone else. This made Mark like her even more, and as time went on, their friendship turned into love. Even though Mark's life was becoming more and more public, they kept their relationship pretty quiet for a long time. As Facebook grew quickly, people all over the world started to watch everything Mark did. That being said, Mark and Priscilla were not like other couples that were in the public eye. They didn't want their relationship to be shown to the public. Instead of big celebrations, they focused on their bond with each other. When they weren't being watched by cameras, they loved quiet dinners, long walks, and just hanging out. After going out together for more than 10 years, Mark and Priscilla chose to get married by 2012. Still, this marriage was different from other well-known ones. They kept it pretty quiet instead of throwing a big party with lots of stars. In fact, they got married in Priscilla's garden in front of only a few close family and friends. It wasn't about the fancy dresses or the big cake. It was about the love they shared. That was exactly how they wanted it. A quiet celebration that was unlike anything anyone could have imagined. The world shouldn't talk about their wedding like it's another event. A very small group of lucky people were able to witness this one-of-a-kind event. After they got married, Mark and Priscilla kept working on something they both loved, helping other people. By starting the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative, a huge effort to give billions of dollars to help health, education, and communities around the world, they hoped Mark and Priscilla never cared about how much money they made or how famous they were. They cared most about making the world a better place for everyone, so they used their money and power to help make that happen. They both worked hard to make things better because they wanted to make people's lives better. People have always thought of Mark and Priscilla as a couple. They helped each other reach their goals and dreams, which was valued. Mark had a big business, and Priscilla was a doctor with a lot of work, but they always made time for each other. They both worked to make the world a better place in their own unique ways, but they were always working together like two puzzle pieces that fit together perfectly. Their marriage wasn't just about being in love. It was about making something important together. In a world where so many famous relationships seem to fall apart in public, Mark and Priscilla's relationship was different. They showed that real love isn't loud or in the middle of the room where cameras can see it. Instead, it could be quiet, reassuring, and based on shared values. They came to show how to balance success, personal happiness, and making a difference. They also showed that a relationship can stay strong and private even when it's out in the open. Their marriage seemed unbreakable, but recent signs suggest a growing tension. What's really going on with Zuckerberg and Chan? Zuckerberg's public image versus reality. Mark Zuckerberg and Priscilla Chan have been a great couple for a long time. People saw them as a loving couple who did well in their personal and business lives and worked well with others. He was the big boss at Facebook, and she was a smart doctor who wanted to make the world a better place. It was like a real-life fairy tale. They seemed to have a great mix between work, family, and their love for each other, which everyone loved. While things seemed great on the surface, their relationship wasn't always what it seemed to be. Behind closed doors, things were not like the perfect picture they painted for the public. They had problems, just like any other pair, even though they looked great together in pictures and at events. In conversations, they've talked about how hard it was to balance their busy personal lives with their demanding jobs. Priscilla was a doctor and worked for free because she wanted to help people, but Mark had to work at Facebook all day and night. Because they loved each other and worked full-time, they sometimes had to give up something. They've admitted that it wasn't always easy to find time to spend together and that, like everyone else, it was hard to keep their marriage strong with their busy lives. Being seen by other people made things worse for them. The way Mark ran Facebook was criticized by many people. He was always being watched by people who were excited to see what he would do with his business next. Mark couldn't just take a break from his work for long. There was always something important to do, like overseeing Facebook's growth, protecting user data, or replying to critics. The constant attention from the public put more stress on his personal life, and that stress sometimes crept into his relationship with Priscilla. It's hard to keep things together when you're constantly in the public eye. Mark's job required that every part of his life was closely watched. Priscilla's life was still hard, even though she was married to one of the most famous guys in the world. Mark started his own tech company and Priscilla worked hard to make her own way. In addition to being a great doctor who helped kids, she gave a lot of time to charity work through the Zuckerberg initiative. But because of Mark's fame and success, she sometimes felt like her work wasn't appreciated. People were always talking about Mark's next big move, while Priscilla worked quietly behind the scenes to change her own life. And even though it was hard to be around someone so strong, she stayed focused on her goals. Still, it was hard for her to balance the pressures of her own job with being married to a wealthy computer entrepreneur. In the years after they got married, there were signs that things might not have been as great as they seemed at first. They started to show up in public together less often. At first, it didn't seem like anything was wrong because they were busy with work and their lives were private. Then, when they noticed that they weren't seen together as much at events, people began to talk about what was going on behind the scenes. Some people wondered if they were just breaking up or if there was trouble in their relationship. People started to worry when the couple stopped being seen in public. It was one of the first signs that things might not be as good as they seemed. There were other things that happened on social media that made fans and followers wonder if there was a fight between them. Priscilla was usually very private about her personal life, but she started sending more and more mysterious texts that seemed a little sad or unsure. People who were there thought they saw something changing, even though it was faint. Even though nothing was confirmed, close friends of the pair said things that made it sound like they were having problems. These small signs made it very clear that even pairs who seem perfect have bad times, just like everyone else. When your relationship is public, it's hard to keep anything private. Mark and Priscilla had problems that were hard to hide, just like many other famous couples. They had to deal with a lot of stress at work, in their personal lives and in their public lives because of their responsibilities. Even the most famous couples had problems they had to deal with behind closed doors. It was clear that they were human, even when they tried to put on a united front. Priscilla Chan breaks her silence. Priscilla Chan, Mark Zuckerberg's wife, has always been a quiet person. No one paid Priscilla any attention, even though Mark is one of the most famous people in the world. She didn't want anyone to know about her life. Mark was always being interviewed, making speeches, and going to big events, but Priscilla stayed away from the cameras. She put her job as a doctor, her volunteer work, and her time with her family first. Her only goal was to keep her private life private. She didn't care much about what other people thought of her. For years, Priscilla wouldn't say anything about her marriage, especially when stories started to spread about her and Mark. Press people were always interested in them, how they lived, how their marriage worked, and whether they really were as perfect as they seemed. But Priscilla didn't listen to the rumors. People were more interested in her because she didn't stand out. People sometimes start to think and picture all sorts of things when they are alone. Since Priscilla didn't talk about her marriage, she let the media say whatever they wanted. It seemed like she didn't want to add fuel to the fire. But after so many years of being still, something changed. Priscilla finally felt like she should speak up. At first, it wasn't clear why she broke her silence, but some people think that the growing attention from the media was a big reason. There were more and more reports and questions about her marriage to Mark. People were asking if they were going to get a divorce because they weren't looking as good in public. Since everyone had something to say about them, Priscilla thought she should share her story. It's possible that Priscilla got tired of people always guessing about her life. There may have been a specific event that made her finally speak out. She chose to tell the world about her marriage's real situation, no matter what her reason was. Even though she didn't have to, she thought it was time to correct the record and take back what she had said. Priscilla spoke up, and her message was clear and cool. Even though she didn't say anything shocking, the fact that she spoke at all was very important. In her speech, she talked about how hard it is to live under constant public surveillance. She explained that many people thought they knew everything about her and Mark, but the truth was that no one really knew how hard their marriage was. She talked about how their public lives put stress on both of them all the time, and how hard they worked to keep their marriage together. Priscilla said, in a strong but quiet voice, she wasn't angry or protective, but you could tell she was speaking up for herself. She wanted everyone to know that what they thought about her marriage wouldn't change how real or valuable it was. The things she said made me remember that even the most famous couples had problems, just like everyone else. She also talked about her own feelings and how she needed to keep some things to herself in order to keep her family safe and happy. People had different reactions to Priscilla's speech. Some people were glad she finally spoke up. They thought she was telling the truth about the stress she and Mark were under and taking charge of the story. Others were more interested in how what she said might affect her relationship with Mark. Was this a sign that their marriage was in trouble? Was there a clear way for them to get a divorce? The rumors about their marriage seemed to come true when Priscilla spoke. Others thought she was just showing her independence and letting people know she was more than just a shadow in Mark's life. Some people wondered if this meant the end of their relationship. As people around the world thought about what Priscilla had said, it was clear that her words had changed how many people saw the couple. People used to think that Mark and Priscilla were a great couple because they were always together and in charge. But after Priscilla spoke out, it became harder for people to forget that their marriage would have ups and downs like any other. There were reports that they were getting a divorce, but Priscilla made it clear that their lives were not as perfect as the media made them out to be. Being brave enough to speak up by Priscilla turned out to be very important in the end. It not only showed more about her personal life, but it also reminded people that stories always have more to them than what they seem to be about at first. Stars like Mark Zuckerberg and Priscilla Chan have problems just like everyone else, even though they look perfect from the outside. Her reply gave her back control of her story and showed everyone that it's okay to be vulnerable, even if you live with one of the most famous people in the world. The untold side of Mark and Priscilla's relationship. As soon as Priscilla Chan talked about her marriage, a lot of attention turned to her connection with Mark Zuckerberg. She chose to speak up, which made a lot of people curious, even though she didn't say exactly that they were having problems. People started to talk about divorce quickly, especially after noticing some signs that things might not be as great as they seemed at first. There were news stories and social media posts everywhere talking about how the couple hadn't been seen together as often in public. The world had grown used to seeing Mark and Priscilla together as this powerful, unbreakable pair. When they started to show less frequency, people started to wonder if something was wrong. Some news websites started making it sound like their marriage might be falling apart. Others said that Priscilla's public statements showed that she was unhappy or felt like she had to write her own story. People online started to talk about what might really be going on behind closed doors as these stories spread quickly. The whole world seemed to be wondering if they were going to get a divorce. The reports got even stronger when people close to the couple talked about how hard things were for them. Some people close to them said that the pressures of Mark's job and the constant attention from the media were starting to hurt their relationship. People also talked about how Mark was very busy as CEO of Facebook and sometimes didn't have time to spend at home. Even though Priscilla was busy with her own projects, it seemed like the pair wasn't as close as they used to be at times. Because of all the talk and guesswork, people couldn't help but wonder if the split was going to happen soon. Mark and Priscilla's lives would be very different if they decided to get a divorce. Along with their personal relationship, it would have a big effect on their work life and everything they had done together. Mark is worth a lot of money because of Facebook. If they got a divorce, Priscilla might be able to get some of their money. This would also have an effect on the Zuckerberg initiative, the nonprofit they started together to work on healthcare, education, and other problems around the world. If they broke up, both of them would have to find ways to keep doing good things for others, especially since they had been working together to change the world. It might be hard to divide the couple's wealth and assets since they belong to both of them. Among their valuables are homes, investments, and the base they have built. It might seem like the most important thing to think about in a divorce is the money side of things, but you also need to think about how it will affect your children. If their parents split up, they would have to figure out how to co-parent their two young girls and make sure they have a stable and happy life. A lot of mental changes would also have to be made, especially for the younger kids who might not really understand what is going on. What would happen to Priscilla after a possible split would also be interesting. For most of her life, she has dedicated herself to her job as a doctor and her charitable work. She has always been driven to help others. Priscilla might keep working on the Zuckerberg initiative if she and Mark get a divorce, but she might do it on her own more. In fact, she might choose to work with other businesses or focus more on problems that are important to her. Because Priscilla is smart, driven, and really wants to make the world a better place, she will probably keep doing a lot of charity work. She could, however, also end up going back to work as a doctor. Priscilla, who is a trained doctor, might decide to help kids in hospitals again after taking some time off to focus on her family and charity work. She might even come up with new ways to combine her love of medicine with her desire to make the world a better place. Her ability to support herself without Mark's help would be shown if she went back to working as a doctor. Priscilla could also choose to go in a completely different direction. She could choose to spend more time with her family and work on herself instead. She could keep working for causes that are important to her, or start new projects that are in line with her values. If Priscilla stays married to Mark or not, she is clearly a strong and capable woman who will continue to have a big impact on the world no matter what she does. Mark and Priscilla are both very important people who will continue to change the world even if the rumors about their divorce are true. Even though they don't know what will happen in the future, their ability to handle tough situations with grace and strength will likely always be an inspiration. Priscilla's road is just beginning, whether she is with her or not. She will continue to have a huge impact on her future. With silence as his strategy, will Mark Zuckerberg's refusal to address divorce rumors cost him in the media spotlight? Zuckerberg's response. Mark Zuckerberg hasn't said much in response to the Priscilla Chan comment or the growing divorce reports. In spite of all the attention from the media, Zuckerberg has mostly avoided directly addressing the issue. Since he is known for keeping his public image in check, his quiet could be part of a plan to keep the media from looking into it more or making more rumors. Zuckerberg is very good at managing public opinion. He often chooses when and how to talk in a strategic way. He may have chosen to stay quiet to escape a media frenzy that would take attention away from his work. In the past, Zuckerberg has often kept his personal life separate from his job as CEO of Meta. This method has worked for him because it helped him keep his personal and business life separate while still managing his public image. With all the new rumors, his choice to stay quiet could be on purpose, so the news coverage will lessen instead of increase. Zuckerberg might think that by not interacting, he is less likely to back that idea. Not only that, but this silence also leads to problems. Some might see it as a lack of honesty or as a way to avoid answering questions that might be awkward. When it comes to social media and tech moguls, where public image is everything, silence can be just as powerful as a word. This is especially true when it comes to a famous pair like Zuckerberg and Chan. If Zuckerberg told everyone what happened, it would bring up more questions about his personal life and relationship that he might not be ready to answer. Personal problems between Zuckerberg and Priscilla may also have an effect on his job at Meta and the performance of his stock. It's hard to say exactly how Zuckerberg's personal life affects the performance of his tech company, but what the public sees of his personal life can affect how well he leads others. If the divorce stories keep going around, it could make people wonder if he can really handle Meta. Some buyers might start to wonder if he can focus and if his personal life affects his work life. If the media keeps going crazy over the stories, stock prices may drop, or people's views on Zuckerberg as CEO may change. At the same time, Zuckerberg is not new to being criticized. He has been heavily covered and criticized by the media in the past, especially when it comes to privacy issues with Facebook. Some people think that the rumors about his marriage might not affect his job at Meta if he can get past these problems. People's views on Zuckerberg may change, but the fact that he runs one of the biggest tech companies gives him a strong foundation that will help him weather the storm, even if there is personal drama in the news. The media's love affair with Zuckerberg. The reports about Mark Zuckerberg and Priscilla Chan were quickly picked up by the media, which made the situation a full-on media storm. As soon as Priscilla spoke out, the rumors about their marriage got stronger. The story caught the attention of journalists, writers, and social media stars, who then looked into every aspect of their relationship to find any signs of conflict. There were a lot of stories, headlines, and tweets about it, and all of them got people interested. The couple, who were known for staying out of the public eye, suddenly got a lot of attention from the media. Tabloids and other outlets made the story seem shocking and dramatic. This media frenzy was a classic example of how the press feeds off of star rumors, especially when it comes to well-known people like Zuckerberg. Not only about their marriage, it turned into a story about money, power, and the flaws in what seemed like a perfect relationship. There were a lot of things for the media to look into, from the couple's public visits to their own charitable work. There was a lot of guessing about whether or not their marriage would last, what their split would be like, and how it might hurt their huge wealth and influence in the world. People are usually very interested in famous divorces because they involve universal themes like love, grief, and the sometimes over-the-top idea of having it all. People are amazed by the idea that even the wealthiest and strongest people have problems with their relationships. People have always been very interested in high-profile divorces like the one between Jeff Bezos and Mackenzie Scott. For example, Bezos and Scott's divorce was both a personal story and a story about a lot of money, since Amazon's value went through the roof during the process. It wasn't just about the end of a marriage, it was also about how a divorce changes power dynamics, public opinion, and the lives of the people involved. People were also interested in the rumors about Zuckerberg and Chan because they have everything: a tech empire, a charity organization, and a family. Someone very wealthy and important couldn't help but wonder how they could be having the same problems as everyone else. But there are a lot of moral questions about why the media is so interested in these personal stories. People are obviously interested in famous relationships, but some people wonder if we should care about their private lives. If the media breaks their right to privacy and turns their problems into entertainment, is that okay? This kind of news sometimes goes too far because it takes advantage of people's weaknesses. A lot of people see famous people like Zuckerberg and Priscilla Chan, but they also have secret rights. When does the public's interest go from being a mere wonder sparked by fame to an invasion of privacy? The world watches as the Chan-Zuckerberg story unravels. Will their commitment to charity endure, regardless of their marriage's fate? What's next for Mark and Priscilla? As of now, no one knows what will happen with Mark Zuckerberg and Priscilla Chan. Because there are many possible outcomes, it is hard to predict what will happen in the future. It is important to remember that the reports might not lead to a divorce but to a separation. A lot of famous couples have times when they fight or spend less time together. During these times, they may decide to end their marriage without actually getting a divorce. Separation doesn't always mean a breakup. It could just be a chance for both of them to think about and reevaluate their relationship away from the public eye. Reconciliation is another choice. Their shared values, close family ties, and commitment to their charitable work would help them get through their problems and get back together, even if it was in a different way. After all, relationships don't always go as planned, and they may be better after this because they've learned a lot about balance and talking to each other. The work that Chan and Zuckerberg did together is likely to live on, no matter what happens with their marriage. Mark and Priscilla have worked together for years on the Chan-Zuckerberg Initiative, a charity that aims to solve some of the world's biggest problems, such as poverty and illness. Because they've always been working toward the same goal, it seems unlikely that they will break up just because of personal changes. Even if they work with different people, the work they've done together in the past will always have an impact on the world because they are both very committed to making things better. Though they live far apart, it is clear that giving back to the community will always be a big part of their lives, and they will probably keep supporting the project in some way. About their public image, how the world sees them in the future will depend on how their marriage turns out, whether they get a divorce or not. Mark Zuckerberg is already one of the most powerful people in technology, but he may have new problems with his personal brand now that he is CEO. This is especially true when it comes to balancing his personal life with his job. People's views might change because the media is always looking into his relationship, but he may be able to handle this with the same strategic control over his image that he has used in the past to handle public disagreements. The future of Priscilla is also very important. If the reports of a breakup are true, she might be the center of attention. As a pediatrician and philanthropist, she has always been a strong supporter on her own. If they decide to split up, she may become even more well-known on her own. Mark and Priscilla have shown that they can handle tough situations. No matter what happens, their public personas and work activities will likely change as they figure out how to move forward with their personal lives. No matter what happens, they will leave a lasting impact on the world, especially through their charitable work. This is true whether they go their separate ways or stay in the public eye together. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Click on the next video popping up on your screen for more exciting content. See you next time.